It is late summer, 52 BC, and the Gallic hill fort of Alesia is under siege. For nearly a decade, the expanding Roman Republic, led by Julius Caesar, had waged a brutal campaign to pacify Gaul. But now, the fragmented tribes had finally united under a single, charismatic king, Vercingetorix. A massive Gallic relief army was marching toward Alesia, not merely to break the siege, but to destroy Caesar's legions entirely. The plunging valleys surrounding the fort were where the Romans opted to make their defensive stand. It was a calculated risk that would either cement Caesar's legacy or result in the annihilation of his army. Caesar had chased Vercingetorix to Alesia, trapping the Gallic king and roughly 80,000 of his men inside the hill fort. However, Caesar soon learned through scouts that a massive relief force was converging on his position. He was about to be trapped between two hostile armies. If Alesia was to be held, the battle had to be fought strictly on Roman terms. In the weeks before the enemy arrived, Caesar ordered his men to construct a massive feat of military engineering: 2 lines of fortifications. The first, an 11-mile inward-facing wall called the circumvallation, kept Vercingetorix contained. The second, a 14-mile outward-facing wall called the contravallation, was built to repel the incoming relief force. Caesar's men had effectively built a fortified wooden ring, isolating themselves from the rest of Gaul. To survive the severe numerical disadvantage, the Roman defenses had to be layered and robust. In front of the walls, legionaries constructed a series of complex obstacles. They dug 5-foot-deep trenches filled with sharpened stakes, carefully concealed under brush, a trap the soldiers grimly referred to as lilies. Ahead of these, they buried barbed iron hooks called stimuli into the earth to disable charging infantry and cavalry. These defenses were designed to disrupt enemy formations, shatter the momentum of massed assaults, and funnel attackers into concentrated kill zones. Crucially, Caesar also kept an elite reserve of allied Germanic cavalry stationed behind the lines, ready to deploy at a moment's notice. The Roman strategy was clear: starve Vercingetorix inside, hold off the relief army outside, and let the fortifications bleed the attackers dry. When the Gallic warlord Commius and the relief army arrived on the surrounding hills, they were confident in their vast numerical superiority. Ancient sources claim they numbered up to 250,000 men. Looking down into the valley, the Gauls believed they had caught Caesar in a trap of his own making. The battle commenced with a massive frontal assault. Commius gave the signal, and the Gallic forces surged forward against the outer wall. Simultaneously, Vercingetorix ordered his men to attack the inner wall from the fort, forcing the Romans to fight in both directions. However, as the outer relief force hit the concealed stakes, pits, and iron hooks, their charge lost cohesion. Men and horses became entangled in the obstacles. From the safety of the wooden ramparts, the Roman defenders unleashed a steady barrage of pila javelins, sling stones, and concentrated scorpion artillery fire. Unable to breach the defenses, the Gauls suffered heavy casualties and were forced to fall back. The initial assault was a failure, but the Gauls were far from defeated. Realizing a daytime assault left them entirely exposed to Roman artillery, Commius launched a coordinated night attack. Under the cover of darkness, thousands of warriors crept toward the Roman lines, attempting to fill the trenches with fascines and scale the walls with ladders. The fighting was chaotic and desperate in the pitch black, illuminated only by torches and flaming arrows. Roman commanders Mark Antony and Gaius Trebonius quickly shifted reinforcements to the threatened areas, repelling the nighttime offensive and forcing another Gallic retreat. By the third day, the Gallic commanders had identified a critical vulnerability in the Roman engineering. A hill to the north, Mount Ray, was too large to fully enclose within the contravallation, forcing the Roman line onto an awkward downward slope. The Gauls secretly moved a force of 60,000 hardened warriors, led by Vercingetorix, into a concealed position behind the hill. At noon, this massive force surged over the crest of Mount Ray, striking the weakened Roman perimeter directly. Simultaneously, Vercingetorix launched another desperate breakout attempt from within the fort. The Roman line at Mount Ray began to buckle under the sheer weight of the assault. Roman shields splintered, and the fighting devolved into brutal hand-to-hand combat within the trenches. Recognizing the imminent collapse of his northern flank, Caesar personally rushed to the sector, wearing his distinct scarlet cloak to inspire his exhausted men. But even with Caesar's presence, the Roman infantry could not hold the breach indefinitely. The fate of the entire campaign hung in the balance. It was at this decisive moment that Caesar initiated his final countermeasure. He ordered his hidden reserve of Germanic cavalry to exit the camp from a separate, unengaged sector and sweep wide around the hills. Just as the Gallic infantry pushed deeper into the Roman defenses, the Germanic cavalry struck their exposed rear. This perfectly timed maneuver caught the Gauls completely by surprise. Pinned against the Roman fortifications and assaulted from behind by heavy horsemen, the Gallic formation shattered. Panic rapidly swept through their ranks, and the massive relief force broke, fleeing into the surrounding forests where they were relentlessly pursued and cut down. The following morning, accepting the bitter reality of his hopeless situation, Vercingetorix rode out of Alesia and formally surrendered to Caesar. Against all odds, Caesar had engineered one of the greatest military victories in ancient history. The Battle of Alesia effectively ended independent Gaul, securing the region for Rome and giving Caesar the unprecedented power, wealth, and loyal veteran army he needed to march on Rome itself. But this was only the beginning of an even greater, bloodier civil war. Make sure you are subscribed and have the bell notification on so you don't miss the truth behind the myth.